The Performance Max versus standard shopping debate has completely changed in 2026. If you made a decision about which campaign type to use a year or two ago, that decision might now be wrong. I've been running a Google Ads agency called Big Flare for over 12 years now. We manage both campaign types across dozens of e-commerce accounts every single day. And I can tell you, the reasons to pick one over the other have shifted dramatically. A lot of the old arguments for choosing standard shopping over Performance Max are now completely obsolete. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what's changed. I'll cover where each campaign type now stands on control, transparency, and performance. And most importantly, I'm going to give you clear guidance on when to use each one in 2026 and beyond, because here's the thing, it used to be simple. Standard shopping equaled control and precision. Performance Max equaled automation and trusting the AI. The gap, though, has narrowed a lot. So let's dive in and look at what's actually different now. Okay, let's start with how things used to be. The traditional view was that standard shopping gave you complete control and precision. You knew exactly where your ads were showing. You had full access to search term data. You could adjust bids manually if you wanted to. Performance Max, on the other hand, was the automation play. You handed things over to the algorithm and hoped for the best. It was often called a black box because you couldn't see what was happening inside. But here's what's changed in 2026. Performance Max has caught up significantly on control, transparency, and reporting capabilities. The cost-benefit analysis has fundamentally shifted. So this comparison is going to cover the real differences that still matter today, not the old arguments that are no longer relevant. Let's get into the specifics. Okay, before we compare all the features, let's establish the fundamental difference between these two campaign types. This is the core difference that everything else flows from. Standard shopping runs on shopping ads only. That's it. Full stop. Your ads show on Google Shopping and nowhere else. Performance Max, on the other hand, is multi-channel by design. It has access to shopping, search, display, YouTube, Gmail, and Discover. All of Google's channels are available. Now in practice, here's what typically happens with Performance Max for e-commerce. About 80% of your spend will usually go to shopping ads. Around 15% might go to search text ads, and roughly 5% might go to retargeting through display and YouTube. PMax will test images and videos for cold traffic too, but it tends to gravitate towards retargeting for those visual ad formats. And that's because that's what typically hits the ROAS targets. This fundamental difference in channel coverage is what drives most of the other distinctions between these two campaign types. So keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this comparison. Let's start with bid strategies, because this is where there's a meaningful difference. With standard shopping, you have access to manual cost per click, target return on ad spend, and maximize clicks. What you don't have is maximize conversions or maximize conversion value. Those bid strategies are simply not available for standard shopping campaigns. Now with Performance Max, you get maximize conversions, maximize conversion value, target return on ad spend, and target CPA. What you don't have is manual cost per click. You cannot manually set your bids in Performance Max. Now, why does this all matter in 2026? Well, here's the thing. Manual cost per click is rarely the optimal choice anymore. If you have accurate conversion tracking and reasonable volume, let's say at least 30 or more conversions per month, target ROAS almost always outperforms manual cost per click. The more significant issue is standard shopping's lack of maximized conversions and maximize conversion value. This, in my opinion, hurts when you're launching new campaigns. With Performance Max, you can start a new campaign with maximized conversions. Then you let it gather data and learn. Then you progress to target ROAS once you have enough conversion history. This progression works especially well if your account already has lots of existing conversion data in there. With standard shopping, you're stuck with starting out with either a very low target ROAS or maximize clicks when you are launching, and neither of those is really ideal, especially for accounts, again, with lots of existing conversion data where starting with maximize conversions or maximize conversion value would usually be more advantageous. So the edge here goes to Performance Max for having the maximize bid strategies. Unless you absolutely require manual cost per click control, which is increasingly rare in 2026. All right, now let's talk about search terms reporting. This is one of the areas where things have changed the most. Let me give you a quick history. Standard Shopping has always had the full search terms report from day one. You could see exactly what search queries were triggering your ads. Performance Max, on the other hand, had a very different journey. When it launched in 2021, there was zero search terms reporting. It was a complete black box. You had no idea what searches were triggering your ads. Then, in March 2023, Google introduced the Search Terms Insights report. But this was not a proper search terms report. It showed category-based, auto-categorized terms, it was difficult to browse, and it showed lots of duplicate keywords. It's better than nothing, but not great. Then in 2024, Google finally rolled out a full, proper search terms report for Performance Max. This brought PMax in line with Standard Shopping as far as search terms reports go. You could now see actual queries driving performance. And then in January 2025, there was another enhancement. Now you can also see whether queries came from keywordless targeting or from your search themes. So this gives you even more insight into how Performance Max is finding your customers. So what's the 2026 reality? Performance Max now has the same search terms visibility as Standard Shopping. You can see actual queries. This is no longer an advantage for Standard Shopping. They're now on equal search terms visibility. Now let's talk about something called feed-only Performance Max. This used to be the go-to workaround for people who wanted Performance Max benefits but with shopping-only focus. Here's how it worked. You would add your product feed to your Performance Max campaign. You make sure to turn off the auto asset creations, and then you do not add any text, images, or video assets to the campaign. This was supposed to make Performance Max behave like a shopping-only campaign. For years, this was the standard approach to get the best of both worlds. But here's the 2026 problem. Feed-only Performance Max is becoming less reliable. I'm seeing clients where feed-only PMax starts venturing into YouTube, search, and display, even without any assets added. Now, the effect is minimal if you're running target ROAS with plenty of conversion data. You might see a few $100s slip into non-shopping campaigns in this case. But the effect is much larger if you're not running a ROAS target. The waste can be significant, so here's the bottom line. If you absolutely positively need 100% shopping ads only, use Standard Shopping. Don't rely on feed-only Performance Max anymore for guaranteed shopping-only traffic. That workaround is no longer bulletproof. Okay, so now let's talk about volume potential versus risk. This is an important trade-off to understand. Performance Max has a clear advantage when it comes to potential volume. It can potentially get you more clicks, more sales, and more revenue than Standard Shopping alone. Here's an example scenario. Let's say shopping maxes out at 100k in revenue per month. With Performance Max, you might get that same 100k from shopping, plus an extra 30k from search text ads, plus another 5k from retargeting, for example. Access to more inventory across more channels equals more scale potential. But here's the flip side. Performance Max also carries higher risk. It has to test those non-shopping placements to find what works. This means higher risk of wasted spend during the testing and expansion phases. And it's less predictable than a shopping-only approach. Standard Shopping has the advantage of lower risk here. It's predictable and controlled. Shopping ads only. What you see is what you get. It's a lower ceiling with Standard Shopping, but also a lower floor. So here's the strategic consideration. If you need maximum scale and you're willing to accept some testing risk, Performance Max has the higher ceiling. If you need predictable, controlled growth with minimal surprises, Standard Shopping is the safer bet. Let's cover negative keywords. This is another area where the gap has closed significantly. With the 2024 and 2025 updates, Performance Max now has campaign-level negative keywords. You can add negative keywords directly to your Performance Max campaigns. This puts it almost on par with Standard Shopping for most use cases. Now, Standard Shopping does still have one advantage here. You can add ad group level negative keywords in Standard Shopping. This allows you to be more granular with traffic sculpting. But here's the 2026 reality check. Ad group level negatives are rarely needed these days. Google has gotten very good at routing traffic appropriately. Traffic sculpting is less necessary than it used to be. So yes, this is a small pro for standard shopping, but it's not a major deciding factor in 2026. For most advertisers, campaign level negatives in Performance Max are sufficient. Now let's talk about brand versus non-brand segmentation. This is one area where standard shopping still has a meaningful advantage. With standard shopping, you can use campaign priority settings to control brand versus non-brand traffic. So here's the common approach. You create one campaign and then you add your brand keywords as negative keywords to that campaign. That campaign now becomes your non-brand campaign. Then you create another campaign without those brand negatives. That becomes your brand campaign. You add non-brand terms from your search term report as negatives to the brand campaign, and you set the brand campaign to a lower campaign priority. Campaign priorities help make this a little bit cleaner and more reliable. And overall, the segmentation is fairly straightforward to set up and maintain. Now with Performance Max, this is harder because Performance Max lacks the campaign priority settings. You cannot use the same priority-based segmentation strategy. The typical workaround is to use standard shopping for your brand campaign, even if your main campaign is Performance Max. This gives you the priority control you need to help make the brand segmentation a bit cleaner. So advantage here goes to standard shopping. If you need easy and clean brand versus non-brand segmentation, standard shopping makes it simpler. Before we go through when to choose each option, I want to mention something. If you're watching this and thinking this all sounds like a lot of work to manage, you're not wrong. At my agency, Big Flare, we build and manage these campaign structures for our clients every day. We've been doing this for over 12 years and have generated more than $150 million in revenue for our clients. Now, if you'd rather have experts handle all these complexities for you, we offer done-for-you Google Ads management. You can book a free strategy call using the link in the description below this video. We'll talk through your account and see if we're a good fit to help you grow. All right, now let's get back to the main content. So let's summarize how Performance Max has improved, because many of the historical reasons to choose standard shopping are now obsolete. Here's what Performance Max gained in 2024 and 2025. First, a full search terms report, not just category insights, but actual search terms like you get with search and shopping campaigns. Second, channel performance reporting. You can now see how much is being spent on each channel inside a PMax. Third, you get campaign level negative keywords. You can add negatives directly to Performance Max campaigns. Fourth, enhanced reporting showing the query source. You can see whether queries came from keywordless targeting or your search themes. The control versus black box gap has narrowed quite a bit at this point. Performance Max is no longer the trust the algorithm totally black box it was in 2021 and 2022. You now have more visibility into what's happening, and you have control over negative keywords. You can make informed decisions based on real data. All right, so when should you choose standard shopping in 2026? Here are the scenarios. Number one, you absolutely need shopping ads only. If you have zero tolerance for spending on other channels, use standard shopping. Don't trust the feed-only Performance Max workaround. If you need guaranteed shopping-only traffic, standard shopping is the answer. Number two, you require manual CPC bidding. Though I'll say this is rarely optimal in 2026 if you have conversion tracking and volume. Target ROAS typically outperforms manual CPC. But if you have a specific reason to control bids manually, standard shopping is your only option. Number three, you need granular brand versus non-brand segmentation. Campaign priorities make this cleaner than Performance Max alternatives. This is especially important if brand and non-brand have very different economics for your business. Number four, you want the lowest risk, most predictable option. With standard shopping, what you see is what you get. No surprises, no testing on other channels. Lower ceiling, but also lower floor. And number five, you have limited conversion data or a new account and you have a smaller budget. When budget is tight, you want to focus only on the best channel for e-commerce, and that's shopping ads. Standard shopping keeps your spend concentrated where it matters most. Right, now let's cover when you should choose Performance Max in 2026. Number 1, you want maximum scale and volume potential. Performance Max gives you access to all Google channels: shopping, search, display, YouTube, retargeting, higher ceiling for growth. Number 2, you have limited conversion data or a new account, but you have a higher budget. Higher budget means you can afford to let Performance Max test across all those other channels, and the maximized conversions to target ROAS progression works well for cold starts here. You're prioritizing growth speed over efficiency in the shorter term. Number 3, you're comfortable with a multi-channel approach. You trust the algorithm to find profitable placements across channels. You accept that there will be testing and optimization across shopping, search, display, YouTube, and all Google surfaces. Number 4, you want access to the latest Google features and updates. Performance Max is clearly Google's priority for new features. Standard shopping is in maintenance mode. If you want to be on the cutting edge, Performance Max is where the innovation is happening. And number 5, you already have significant conversion history in the account. If you have 100 or more conversions already in the account history, Performance Max can leverage that data. The starter bid strategies like maximize conversions and maximize conversion value without a target can use this existing data. And this gets you off to a better start than standard shopping's bid strategy options. Right, now that you know when to use Performance Max versus standard shopping, you'll probably want to know how to actually set up Performance Max the right way. So check out my video on the Performance Max setup and new strategies that I recommend. I'll walk you through the complete Performance Max setup plus all the latest strategies. It's the perfect next step to implement what we've discussed today if you're going down the Performance Max route. Good luck with your campaigns. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.